Okay, here we go. This is the briefing from Military Times for the week of February 7, 2020. A look at what you missed from the headlines. Let's get started. The coronavirus continues to have impacts around the world, and the U.S. military is not immune. This week, officials initiated a 14-day self-quarantine on troops entering South Korea from China and opened a new online portal for updates on the virus. Officials said the risk of infections is low and advised normal prevention precautions, such as washing hands and getting an influenza vaccine. The State Department has issued a do-not-travel warning for China. U.S. citizen evacuees under quarantine orders also headed from China to 4 military installations in the States this week. They will be housed for 2 weeks before release. The Department of Defense said it's prepared to house about 1,000 people as a precautionary measure.
The department has continued to provide force health protection information to our forces overseas and domestically. The health and safety of our forces, their families, and our base communities are our top concern with regard to coronavirus.
Now, let's head to the Marine Corps. Marines at Camp Pendleton in California took some of their newest hardware out for testing recently, continuing the Corps' effort to replace its current amphibious assault vehicles. The Marines took their first swing at launching from and reboarding Navy vessels with the new amphibious combat vehicle. The ACV has been in development with the Marines for the past 3 years. All right, over to Iraq. Nearly 60 service members could be eligible for the Purple Heart following the Iranian missile attack on bases in Iraq in January. A 2011 Defense Department policy about mild traumatic brain injury may come into play to make those hurt in the attacks eligible for the medal. The troops received injuries when Iran launched ballistic missiles in retaliation for the U.S. killing of one of its top generals. Now for some Navy news. The guided missile destroyer Fitzgerald is underway for its first extended time at sea in more than 2 years since it was involved in a deadly collision in the Pacific. 7 sailors were killed and the ship was knocked out of commission when it ran into a container ship near Japan in 2017. The ship has been through 2 years of restoration. The Fitz is now undergoing a test of its system to see if it's fully ready to return to the fleet. Now, back to the Corps. Should Marine staff NCOs be required to get college degrees? In this week's Military Times reports, the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps shares his thoughts on that and how he sees the Corps developing future Marines.
Are you going to require certain senior enlisted staff NCOs to have degrees?
Right now, there is not a requirement. Can you envision in the future that there would be? Absolutely. How we get there and what that looks like over time, 10, 15 years down the road, once we actually have a mechanism or a process or a capability to do that, it's feasible, visionary that we could get there.
How are you going to make that capability, incentivize enlisted Marines to go to college and make it available for them with their busy schedule?
So a couple of things. We talked about PME, we talked about professional development, we talked about this collegiate leg. Right now, Marine Corps University has already started a program that can mash up everything a Marine does, add to it some actual college credentialed classes. Think your core competencies, your math or your English, those things you have to have that are core, add them to what we learn, and then, can you accredit that stuff and get an associate's degree or maybe beyond that? I would offer also that the Navy has created the Office of the Chief Learning Officer of the Navy, and the CLO, Chief Learning Officer of the Navy, is developing right now what's called the Navy Community College, which is going to take that a step further and actually is reaching out to colleges right now to start to accredit, one, many of the things that we do already to develop the enlisted force, and then offer a more flexible program to meet the rest of those core competencies. So now you start to accumulate accreditation, add it to what you've already done while your required training has been going on, and then figure out ways to get past to associates and advanced bachelor's degrees.
For this week's Outgoing Rounds, we first have a look at a Florida man who lost 160 pounds in order to join the Army. 28-year-old Christian Montijo fulfilled his career ambition recently after a year of shedding weight by cutting out fast food and soda. Montijo started basic training in January. And here's a new item being offered for sale by Urban Outfitters. Actual Navy coveralls, complete with personal identification and U.S. Navy over-the-breast pockets. The coveralls sell for an eye-popping $120 each. Will people actually buy these? It's actually Urban Outfitters' second crack at selling military gear. In 2018, it sold PT belts as fashion accessories. All right, that's it for this week. Visit Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps Times for news. And check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter for more video coverage. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.